Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is dreaming. They're flying, or being chased, or kissing a stranger with a familiar face. But there's one thing almost none of them are doing: reading. Not a book, not a text message, not even a street sign. In one of the strangest studies in sleep science, researchers combed through hundreds of real, recorded dreams looking for people reading, writing, or doing math. They found almost nothing. Not rarely, not sometimes if you squint. Basically, zero. And once you understand why, you'll never look at your dreaming brain the same way again. Because it turns out your sleeping mind isn't a broken version of your waking mind. It's running on completely different hardware. In 1996, a sleep researcher named Ernest Hartmann did something delightfully nerdy. He gathered 456 real, written-down dreams from 5 separate studies. Then, he and a colleague read every single one, hunting for one specific thing. Was anyone in these dreams reading, writing, or doing math? The 3 most basic tools of a literate mind. The 2 scorers worked blind, without knowing what the other found, and compared notes at the end. Their agreement was perfect. 0 instances of reading, 0 instances of writing, 1 single, maybe, possible instance of doing math. Out of 456 dreams. That's not a fluke. That's a pattern screaming to be explained. So Hartmann dug deeper. He surveyed 240 people who were serious, frequent dreamers, remembering close to 7 dreams a week, far more than average. He asked them directly, "How often do you dream about reading, writing, typing, or calculating?" Roughly 90% said, "Never," or "hardly ever," across the board. And here's the part that makes it truly bizarre. These same people spend over 6 hours a day doing those exact 4 things while awake: reading, writing, typing, doing math. Hours of your waking life and almost none of your dreaming life. Compare that to walking, talking with friends, or intimacy. Activities that show up in dreams almost as often as they do in real life. 2 totally different categories of experience. One survives the trip into sleep intact. The other basically doesn't make it through the door. To understand why, you need to meet one small, unglamorous patch of your brain, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Try saying that 5 times fast. We'll just call it the DLPFC. It's your brain's project manager. Focus, working memory, step-by-step logical thinking. Exactly the toolkit you need to hold a sentence in your head, word by word, in the correct order, long enough to understand it. Reading isn't one skill. It's a tiny assembly line. See the letters, decode the sounds, hold the words, build the meaning, move to the next word, repeat. Every single link in that chain depends on the DLPFC being switched on. But during REM sleep, the dream stage, the DLPFC goes quiet. Meanwhile, the emotional and visual parts of your brain, like the amygdala and the visual cortex, are wide awake and blazing. That's why dreams feel vivid, emotional, and utterly real, while somehow having no interest in following a straight line of logic. Your brain isn't damaged when you dream. It's just handed the controls to a completely different department. And this explains a strange trick your brain plays on you. In a dream, you can absolutely feel like something is a word, a sign, a page of text. Your brain fakes the top-level meaning without ever running the actual decoding process underneath. It hands you the punchline without telling the joke. Stanford sleep researcher Stephen LaBerge turned this glitch into one of the most useful tools in lucid dreaming. Here's the trick. In a dream, find any text, a sign, a book, a label. Read it. Then look away. Then look back. The first time you do this, the text changes about 75% of the time. Do it a second time, and it changes 95% of the time. Almost guaranteed. Letters rearrange. Words melt into symbols. A sentence that made sense a second ago now reads like nonsense, or reads like something completely different. This isn't random spookiness. It's your impaired DLPFC failing to hold a stable string of information in your working memory for more than a few seconds. Your brain can't recreate the exact same text twice, so it doesn't even try. It just improvises a new one. It's the same reason digital clocks and mirrors are famously unreliable in dreams. They all demand one thing your sleeping brain has quietly lost access to: stable, precise, held detail. So if you ever want to know, right now, mid-dream, whether you're actually asleep, read something twice. Your brain will hand you the proof. Here's where it gets genuinely strange. Hartmann didn't just describe this pattern. He proposed a reason for it, and it sounds like it's ripped from a computer science lecture. Imagine two kinds of networks. The first takes information in, processes it in one strict direction, step by step, and produces a precise result. Input, then process, then output. No wandering, no shortcuts. That's called a feed-forward network, and it's basically what your brain runs when you read. Left to right, word by word, in exact order. The second kind works completely differently. It doesn't march forward in a line. It spreads outward, completing patterns based on loose association. One idea calls up another that merely resembles it, which calls up another, and another, with no fixed sequence at all. That's called an auto-associative network. And Hartmann's theory is that this is exactly the mode your brain switches into when you dream, which is why dreams drift. A hallway becomes your childhood kitchen. A stranger becomes your old best friend halfway through a sentence they never actually finish. It's not your brain malfunctioning. It's your brain running a fundamentally different kind of program, one built for wide, loose, creative connections instead of narrow, exact sequences. Reading needs the strict machine. Dreaming runs the associative one. And you simply cannot run precise, ordered code on a machine built for free association, no more than you could ask a river to flow in a perfectly straight line. So the next time you dream and you reach for a book, a sign, a text message that refuses to hold still, remember that you're not witnessing a glitch. You're watching two different modes of your own mind, standing face to face. One built to move you carefully through the world, letter by letter. The other built to wander freely through everything you've ever felt, seen, or imagined, with no order at all. Every night, your brain quietly closes one department and opens another. And for a few strange hours, you get to live inside a mind that has completely forgotten how to read, but never forgotten how to dream.